solutions with real doctors. Go to forhims.com right now, and you can get a $5 trial month. forhims.com/Spotify. That's FORHIM.
And welcome in for Friday Night Baseball MacJustice podcast. This is episode number 4. I am a co-host, BMac Redbeard, along with my buddy over there, IceMac78, the best damn beard on Twitch. How are you doing tonight, Mr. Ice?
What's going on, guys? What's going on, BMac?
It's going. What a news week for MLB The Show 18 and Major League Baseball in general. Wow. The GameStop Monday video was out. As you can see on our breakdown here, these are topics we're going to be covering. But I want to first talk about the GameStop Monday video, which showed batting stance creator. It showed rain delays. It showed fog. It showed several different player emotion awareness celebration type events. It showed Trey Turner with a big home run late in a game. It showed all kinds of different things that continue to get me excited about MLB The Show 18. Any specific thoughts about the trailer or the GameStop Monday video before we go ahead and get on to our 30 screenshots from yesterday's SDS Little Things video, Ice?
Now just everything looks like it's starting to come together, and hopefully everything plays out the way it looks.
Perfect. All right. Well, then let's go ahead and get moving. We're going to cover batting stance creator. We're going to cover the throwback uniforms that were unveiled yesterday afternoon on Sony San Diego Studios Twitch channel. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on with the stadiums. We're going to hit the custom options, including practice mode, and then we're going to talk about Frank Thomas because he was the legend revealed at the end of the stream yesterday, and then we'll go around the horn because several free agents in Major League Baseball are no longer free agents. They have homes as of this week, and one of them happened just earlier this afternoon, and we've got that bit of news in here. So let's go ahead and move on to batting stance creator. I'm gonna flip right now to our full screen where we're gonna show Carlos Correa. This is Carlos Correa. This is not his real batting stance, but you can see that they are fully editable. Every single player in the game has a custom option where you can edit them inside of franchise mode or any other type of mode. Probably not Diamond Dynasty when it comes to their individual card, because I don't think you can edit any of the attributes when you're playing head-to-head. But if you were to do it in franchise mode, and or if you were able to do it with your created player, y'all know what I feel about creative players, but this is the way that you can go about and all of the different things that you can change within batting stance creator. San Diego Studio calls it one of the most requested features that they've had for a number of years. You can change height and depth, meaning in toward the body or outward from the body on hands, which is one of the things that they were doing there with Carlos Correa. You could also see the tilt with the bat going out toward the catcher. You can move his hips forward or backward. You can change his elbow height. The elbows here are pretty low. And you can also change the front foot placement, whether it's a closed stance, an open stance, and the hand wiggle rotation. This actually might have been a screenshot in the middle of the hand wiggle, now that I come to think about it. The greater the value, I believe, there in the hand wiggle rotation, the more wiggle in the bat. So he might have been wiggling the bat back and forth. You can see the back elbow offset and all the other kinds of screenshots that they've got there. Those are all features in this particular custom setup here. And there is, well, first of all, before we go to the veteran stances, IceMac, do you have any comments or any things that really excite you about batting stance creator?
I'm really curious to see who they brought into it. First of all, I'm going to disagree with them by saying that this is the most requested feature. I believe the most requested feature
one of the most
is probably the custom stadiums. But I'd love to see if you're able to do a Julio Franco stance, hands over the head, the bat towards the pitcher. That would definitely be an interesting sight to see if they're able to pull that off with the creator.
Yeah, and I will mention that they showed along somewhere along each one of those axis points, whether it's the hands or the elbows, you ran into a point where there was collision or would be a collision in the matter, of course, of an actual swing. So they stopped that, but I don't know. You would have to, bring your hand up pretty high over your head to be that Julio Franco type. I think it's probably noteworthy, and I'll go ahead and go back to this other screen here because I wanted to show out the fact that they've got so many veteran stances. You can see on that particular page right there that there's 232, but we're also on page 20 of 87, guys. There's more than 1,200 veteran stances to choose from, and you can screenshot your values of your custom batting stances, and it's something that is kind of neat potentially to share with the rest of the community if a batting stance is particularly working for you and you really enjoy it, or there is one that you really like, say Aaron Judge's stance. You can go into franchise mode, or you can go to, you don't even have to go into franchise mode, you can just go to create a player mode in roster vault on the live roster, and you can go select Aaron Judge and you can see the values in that, and then you can import that into your player, although they probably have templates that you can choose from anyway. So
and not just that. I mean, just think about what you could do with some of the players where they're, they say that that's their stance. If you see something wrong, something off a little bit, you can make adjustments yourself now too.
Exactly. That was part of the discussion. They, if somebody's batting stance changed during the course of the off season, or they have a different stance in August that they showed in May, you can go in and edit it. And of course, that's more of a franchise feature than it is anything else, but still cool, still fun to do.
Yep, absolutely.
Customization is kind of the name of what they were showing off yesterday, which is also a really neat thing. I still want the creative player out of Diamond Dynasty. There's Road to the Show, and I'd love to see creative players stay in Road to the Show. I think it creates...
I second that.
Yep. I think it creates too much fictionalism in a Diamond Dynasty format that has grown out of being fictional into more realistic, based on live series and flashback players of all different kinds. And I want to see it removed. I don't think it will be, because I think Diamond Dynasty, I know Diamond Dynasty originally was built around a Dynasty player, and they were all fictional players. And so I think that is a feature. And then, there's all the equipment and rituals, and boy, what do you do with all that junk? I'm sure they've added to equipment and rituals and sponsorships and all that kind of thing. So not likely to happen. It's a wishful thinking on my part, but it's not likely to happen. Before we move on from custom batting stances, 10 different sets of animations for the finger wiggle on the end of the bat, which is, not necessarily on the top of my animation priority list, but it adds an element and some depth to realism there. And I would imagine over the next year or so that they will add to their different sets of finger wiggle animations.
Yeah. I guess just more angles of the realism. That's all.
Yes. Absolutely. All right. So, we covered the 1,200 veteran stances. Some numbers here that Ramon Russell. I will go over some of the numbers really quickly. They have 93 new batting stances, 190 redone batting stances, 40 new pitching motions, 70 pitching motions that have been redone, 21 new legend stances. I don't know if that means that there are 21 new legends, but there's 21 new legend stances, 10 new legend pitching motions. So if you add 10 and 21, that could mean that we're getting 31 new legends. 10 new outfield celebration animations at the very end of a game. I'm kind of tired of seeing the Mookie Betts and the Andrew Benintendi roll a camera thing. New generic and medium intensity home run celebrations. That's something from the GameStop video they talked about. A home run to win a game is a lot different than a home run in the middle of a blowout. And I think we could all agree on that. New home run swings, 25 new home run swings from actual MLB players, 18 new generic home plate celebrations after a home run, and they've got 24 new home run celebrations that occur in the dugout. So, depth. Again, might not want to cut through those cutscenes very quickly, especially if you happen to be playing the CPU and grinding programs and things like that. It might be something fun, at least over the course of the first 6 to 8 weeks of the game, to experience some of those animations. I always like to see them and give a chuckle a little bit when it's the first time that I see one in general. I think those are all the numbers that come with that. We talked about testing it for collision problems. Okay, great. So batting stance creator, again, something that I wouldn't necessarily put on my list of priorities, but I think that it's neat that you can go in and if something really works for you, you can change it. I think adding customization only helps and potentially makes the game deeper, and more customization, as long as it's not taking away from the actual functionality of the game, I'm not going to tell him not to do it. So kudos to them for getting that sort of thing in play.
As long as we play day one.
What's that?
As long as we can play day one.
That's right. As long as we can play it day one, then kudos. Exactly. All right, we're going to move on to the throwback uniforms, and we've got several screenshots. So bear with us as we go through some of this. But I wanted to specifically mention the 3 new legend teams that they talked about: the long ball beasts, the expansion era boomers, and the mid-century groundbreakers. And we'll go ahead and switch over to some of this other stuff here. All right, here are the groundbreakers. Mid-century groundbreakers. All we can really see of them at the moment is the logo. We cannot see any jersey. I would imagine that the primary colors are yellow with a red outline. I mean, this is a team that is going to be made up of legends from the 1940s, 50s, and 60s. They were very careful not to actually go into any gameplay with any of these 3 teams because they didn't want to spoil it. So clearly, there are legends that we have never heard of, in the game at least, on these teams because they didn't want to have an accidental reveal. They were very careful about that. So there's the mid-century groundbreakers, again, 40s, 50s, and 60s. Next one is the long ball beasts. This is a team that is closest to us in era. This is the 90s and 2000s players, so it's kind of neat that they're at least going to have a full team made up of legends from the 1990s and 2000s, 20, 30 years ago now. I can't believe it's been 30 years. IceMac, we're old. And then there were the expansion era boomers. And these players are going to be from the 1970s and 80s. So this, I would imagine, where we see Paul Molitor and Robin Yount and some of those guys in there. So neat. Primarily because I believe that what it's going to do is allow us in an exhibition mode to play with the legend-filled teams. We might get an opportunity to take some at-bats with players, fairly highly rated players, or players that we might not want to spend the stubs to go get on the marketplace, and give them a try. And we can play them in game situation. And we're going to talk about another way you can play with those legends here in just a little bit. But any thoughts on the legend teams and what they might have in store for us, Ice?
Just interested in seeing what, new players that they're bringing in. I mean, obviously, like you said, they're being real careful about what and who they show. If a lot of people didn't notice when they had the Monday trailer, there were some names that kind of leaked out. They obviously went way around that yesterday. So there's a lot of names that were shown that they don't want to see. Just real curious to seeing who they are.
Well, if you're referring to the trailer video, they were done intentionally. If you're talking about Doc Ellis and Benito Santiago and Troy Percival and those guys, right?
The one from this Monday.
From this Monday, was there one this Monday?
Yeah, there was a little peek of what they talked about today, yesterday.
Oh, okay, all right.
And
so,
and there were a couple names that were in there that haven't been mentioned yet, and they didn't show them yesterday.
All right, I haven't seen any names mentioned, and I went through that one pretty carefully, frame by frame. So I don't know if they showed them or not, but
okay.
We'll go ahead and move to some of these. We will go to some of these new flashback uniforms. This is one that they showed. If we're going to have Vladimir Guerrero in the game, doesn't it just make complete and total sense to bring in the Montreal Expos? And this is neat because they're not just doing one home or one road jersey. When they are doing uniforms, they're doing home and away, and this happens to be the look Bryce Harper in an Expos jersey from 1981 season. So this is more like an well, it might even be before Andre Dawson's time. Although I think he was with the Expos in '81. This is done purposefully for Vladimir Guerrero.
Oh yeah.
Neat stuff.
Yeah, obviously you can't have Vlad without having the Expos. It's nice to see they finally put the uniforms in. There's been people making the uniforms for a long time, so it was inevitable that they were going to put them in.
So we got clarification from the chat about the batting stances and the different legends names that were revealed in the screenshots. Yeah. I put two and two together, and I just want to say that if you guys were to scroll through certain batting stances while you were creating a Road to the Show player or your Diamond Dynasty player in this year's game, you're going to find legends whose stances are in the game, whose cards never appeared in the game. So just a cautionary word to those of you out there who want to extrapolate and say that so-and-so is in the game because their stance is in the game.
Yeah, I should have clarified that a little bit.
It's incorrect. I would not make that assumption. It is not a safe assumption, and I would not jump to that conclusion.
It just means that there's a chance that they could be in them.
It means that at least their batting stance has been recreated. That's all it means. That's all it means. So thank you guys in the chat for helping me out with that. This is Troy Tulowitzki. We're going to go ahead and move to the... Well, this is a batting practice, damn it. This isn't even the right Toronto Blue Jays uniform. But this is one of them that's in the game. They did have the 1992 home and away Toronto Blue Jays game. Uniform, I'm sorry, not game. This is not it. This is just a batting practice jersey, so I had the wrong screenshot. My bad, fellas. This is the 1989 home Cleveland Indians jersey. And the joke that was made, it was very appropriate, was Jake Taylor and Rick Vaughn and all those guys from the Major League movie, which I thought was great and classic when they pulled that up because it made total sense when they showed it. It was like, oh yeah, I've seen this uniform a bunch of times. So this is really neat to see these Cleveland Indians uniforms in the game. I like that a lot.
Give them the heater.
Yeah, forget about the curveball, Ricky. Throw in the heater.
and just to add, for somebody like me, that I actually have Ricky Vaughn as a created player for Road to the Show.
Nice.
This is awesome for if you actually got picked up by Cleveland and you can use that uniform. So it's just another nice feature about having that uniform in this game this year.
Yeah, I mean, you could also select your team, right? I think you can still pick the team and forego the draft and sign with a specific team if you want to play for that team. Isn't that
possibly,
true?
Possibly.
I know it's been that way in the past.
Yeah.
I have not taken that route. I like to roll the dice and see which team drafts me, and then I try to play with that organization until they trade me. So it's just one of the ways in which Road to the Show is kind of a fun process to do it. The 1944 Brooklyn Dodgers with the powder blue and the solid white trim. It's like a white wall tire on the outside of those things. Those things are pretty sweet with the tight blue cap and the bold white B on the cap. I really like the quality of the 1944 Brooklyn Dodgers uniform.
Yeah, I'm a real softy for that color. I mean, especially with the Phillies uniforms from the 70s, 80s. I love that color on a uniform.
Yeah. All right. So the 1927 St. Louis Cardinals. And this one was unique, as they pointed out on stream, because they won the 1926 World Series, and they had the chutzpah to put world champions on the front of their jersey. So I think that's kind of neat. The pinstripe and the kind of the plain hat on the top, but world champions is really the feature that they wanted to point out when they showed this one.
Yeah, talk about a set of balls, man.
Exactly. All right, and this one's for you, Ice. This is the 1949 Philadelphia Phillies with kind of the cream or the off-white color and Phillies in red outlined in blue.
Yeah, this was probably one of their cleaner uniforms. More of a model of what they have today. They use something like this more towards batting practice now, and a alternative uniform. Just an all-out clean uniform. Nothing crazy about it. Nothing shiny about it. Just it's a nice clean uniform.
Yep. This was a home of 1949, and when I'm showing just one of them, they've got a road uniform of the ones that I'm not showing. But in all, guys, 19 new throwback uniforms. I do believe I've got one left here, and it is the 2002 Road Houston Astros uniform. This is the road grays with the yellow BMAC, the orange Houston across the chest of one Jose Altuve. And I also wanted to pull this up because they made mention of an interesting thing in the design aspect, the facial features of Jose Altuve. You might notice he's got a beard. Not only do I have a beard and my partner in crime over there, he's got the best damn beard on Twitch, but Jose Altuve's got one in this image, and they mentioned that they put that on him yesterday morning before the stream. So interesting little tidbit, that the fact that they've gone through that, and they're at spring training right now. They are getting face scans of the players who are voluntarily taking them. But the face scans that they get this year in spring training, because they're too late in the cycle, they will not be implemented until next year's game. And with that reasoning, then you can fully understand that the face scans that they got last year in the spring of 17 are the ones that are now going to be in the game in 2018. And the one player that they mentioned specifically, who had never had a face scan done before, did get one last year, and we will actually have a face scan of one Mike Trout. So that's kind of neat. I mean, Mike Trout is probably the most sought after player in the game, and they finally are going to have a realistic look at him.
Yeah, it's just interesting that quick that they threw that in with Altuve with the beard. So
I'm sure the color and everything. I mean, we've all created Road to the Show players. They've got all kinds of different facial features. It really isn't that difficult to put a beard on somebody.
Yeah, but just something that he just started doing. So for them to make that adjustment already,
Good point.
But just somebody make sure they throw my sponsor out to Altuve to help him grow that beard in a little bit.
That's right,
maybe.
Mr. Altuve, Heathen Brotherhood, and use the code word
Ice Mac.
And you can get 10% off, right, of your order?
Yep, we can get him a nice little beard going.
All right, so Heathen Brotherhood is now a sponsor of the Baseball MacJustice podcast, at least this one in particular.
Well, that's actually in the work. We'll talk about that later.
Awesome, fantastic, good stuff. Okay, so we talked about the 3 legend teams and the different legends that are going to be part of them. We showed several different ones. Ones that we did not show include the 1975 Angels and the 94 Angels, the 1998 San Diego Padres, who were in the World Series that year, along with the 1944 Brooklyn Dodgers, the 94 Dodgers, the 2007 Arizona Diamondbacks. There were also 2 sets of uniforms, throwback uniforms for the Cincinnati Reds, including one for the Big Red Machine in 75.
Yep.
The 66 Pirates, the Willie McCovey Pirates, that had the nice, clean, long black sleeve on them. 1994 Pittsburgh Pirates. They also had a 1929 Chicago Cubs uniform that was really neat. The The cub, I think it was the first time the little cub appeared, and it was very, very small in the middle of the sea. And the 46 Tigers. And this is going to shock you, but the 1946 Tigers had an Old English D on their uniform. I know, shocking, right?
Yeah, that's one uniform, man. That's between them and the Yankees. You've
Exactly.
never seen much of a change, man.
Exactly. Great. Okay, so I think I believe we have covered uniforms. And now we will head on to stadiums. So this is what we've got to cover in stadiums. Corporate sponsors, bleachers, bench setting, real-life destinations, and the minor league backdrops. So we'll head on over. We'll go back to our full screen here. Our stadium sponsor, this is a screenshot again from yesterday's San Diego studio developer stream. Want to pay attention to the big swoosh in the middle of the, well, it's not the scoreboard, but it's right below the MLB Network and the play ball, stand up to catch, Topps Chrome. Nike was the one that they specifically mentioned yesterday, but they said major corporate sponsors have joined the show, including Nike. So I'm assuming if we take a peek around some of the other stadiums, that we're going to see more of these types of things. I don't know if it's going to be Franklin or if it's going to be some of the other, what do you want to call it? The equipment sponsors that they've had. Louisville Slugger. What they have, lizard skins, I think, for back tape last year, things like that. I would imagine that that's the people that they would have reached out to first. Mizuno, they would have had prior standing agreements with them to get them into the game. Under Armour, thank you. Yeah, they could potentially have a few more types of things like that.
Yep. And that's what I was thinking when they brought that up yesterday also, is, all the ones that are in the sponsorships already, the equipment, that's probably what's going to end up being what we see. Maybe not all of them, but probably a good amount of them.
I would imagine. Nike's a big one, but Nike is also part of that equipment package with the gloves and the cleats and things like that. Yep. So it would make total sense to see them now throughout the stadium.
Yeah.
I would actually even go a step farther and say that if you had the sponsorship equipped in your franchise mode, that you could probably have different sponsorships throughout your stadium like that.
Yep.
I would imagine that that's the case.
At least you would think.
You would think. Okay, real-life destinations. This is the Chop House, which is a restaurant in the right field section at Sun Life Park in Atlanta. This is the only one that they showed. This one actually exists. It's not fictional. They did make mention of one other one, the Hit It Here Cafe at Safeco Field, which is cool. It adds another element of realism to the ballpark that's closest to me. Although I have actually never eaten at the Hit It Here Cafe. Kind of a neat thing to have the Chop House at Hit It Here Cafe. I'm sure there's a few others in there that they didn't screenshot, but
yeah, I'm guessing I'm hoping they'll have Ashburn Alley in Philly, and a lot of the other the named places to go to.
It's possible they may had to get the license to use them individually though, so I wouldn't hold my breath on them.
Probably.
And then we've got the minor league stadiums, which is something I think is really neat, because I've noticed, at least playing online, and I also want to point out that generally when I play Battle Royale games, for some reason, I don't know why, it's a habit I got into doing, but I played at minor league parks for some reason. And this one is Laughing Mountain Park, which I think a lot of us choose because it's one of the bigger ballparks, and we choose that for home run purposes for our opponents, but we also suffer from that as hitters. Notice the backdrop and the movement of the mountains and the fact that there's different colors in them. They went through and redid the entire backdrop for every single minor league stadium that they have. They didn't add any new ones. There's Capitol Field. They did not add any new ones. They also showed Red Rocks, but I didn't get a very good screenshot of it, so I'm not going to I'm not going to show it. But I really like that feature in that they went through and kind of remastered all of the other stadiums. So it's not just the same old, but it's kind of like the upgraded version.
Yep. It's definitely a lot better on the eye when you're playing. Gives you more to look at while you're playing.
Exactly. Okay. They added the new Jumbotron in San Diego, guys, at Petco Park. But the one at Coors Field in Colorado, unfortunately, they got it too late in the cycle, and they're going to hope to get it into the MLB The Show 19 game. And let's see, I think that is going to do it for the stadiums portion. So let's head to customs. we're going international here. We're going to change. We're going to go through customs. Custom options is what I mean. Custom options is what I mean. And let me go ahead and switch scenes again so we can get to one of these other screenshots. Goodness sake. I want to show custom practice. This is the screen, guys, that you will see when you go into custom practice. This is a new function of the game that they did announce yesterday. I think it's one that's also been highly suggested or asked for, because the way that you could go and do a batting practice simulation in the way that the game currently sits, there's kind of two ways to do it. You could go into the challenge of the week, and you can progress dynamically, starting from rookie, and you get your hit streak up, and eventually get to Hall of Famer legend, and you continue to build points. And I think we all know how the challenge of the week runs. Or you could go into mini modes, and you can actually do one of the drills that you would do if you were in Road to the Show, whether it be good at-bat training, or you can go in depth and try to hit a ball to a certain side of the field, up the middle, down the line, one way or the other, go the other way. This one's going to be a heck of a lot easier for people, because it's as customizable as whoever you want on the mound versus whoever you want at the plate. You can have D. Gordon at first base, and you could have him stealing second base. If you want to practice throwing out D. Gordon at second base, you could put Clayton Kershaw on the mound, and you could try to throw out D. Gordon at second base. You could, if you have trouble hitting Noah Syndergaard's slider because it looks too much like his fastball, you could go in and you could put Noah Syndergaard on the mound, and you could pick your favorite hitter, and you could have it repeat the scenario over and over and over again, and you can have him throw just sliders. You can have him mix it up. You could have it on a 3-2 count. You can have it on a 0-0 count. All kinds of different custom options here in practice mode that will help people get better at the weak parts of their game. I think this is a very, very valuable add into MLB The Show 18.
Yeah, not just the offensive aspect, the defensive aspect. People having trouble turning double plays. They want to practice trying to pull, triple plays and stuff from the outfield. And there's a lot of things that you could end up in a game situation that you really can't practice all the time.
Testing arm strength from the outfield, to coming through the ball. I know a lot of people like to back away from the ball and then come through it as they're throwing. This is a good opportunity to go into that fielding practice mode and to be able to find the sweet spot of when he does that forward tumble animation that we all know is, he fell, it's going to be on the money. And then the player reactions, player speed, getting to the ball, stuff. It's going to come in handy whether you're trying to practice with somebody or even just learning what a player does. Exactly. So and we talked earlier about potentially playing with new legends in an exhibition mode on one of those 3 legend teams. Yep. Guess what? You can pick any player you want. You want to pitch with a new legend. You want to hit with a new legend. This is the other spot where you could do it. You can go into custom practice mode, and you can test out that player before you get him in a battle royale round. Before you spend 500,000 stubs on a player whose 99 hardware version is the next overpowered home run hitter. This is where you can go figure out whether you like the guy's swing or not, and whether it's worth spending the type of the stubs that it will cost to get them. The time and the effort for the missions and the programs, and absolutely. So very, very cool. All right, another custom option. We're going to head back to the full screen here. Another custom option that they have in the game is the logo and roster vault. And this is a really neat thing because if you were to do it in this year's game, you could go to a logo and roster vault. First of all, they're separate, and that's a pain in the butt. They're also difficult to load. This logo vault, and there are people out there like myself who are just terrible with that editor. Creating your own logo with all these different layers and everything. I can't do it. I'm not going to lie, I can't do it. I like to be as simple as I can. If you saw my uniforms, I had a big W on my cap. I grabbed a W and I slapped it on my cap, and I did a color scheme with pinstripes, and I wrote like Cougars or something across the top of it, and I called it good. I was done in 20 minutes. There are people who spend an hour creating a logo, and then a lot of other people like the intricacy of it and want to have a chance to download and use that logo. Well, you can upload it. And this is a way that you can search it, because you can search it by username, you can search it by the individual logo name, and then the really neat thing about this screen that I'm showing here is that it shows a small image of what the logo actually is, and that is completely different than what people have to go through now.
Yeah, instead of having to hit X and look at it and wait for it to load, this is going to be so much easier to just find something that you want. And don't feel bad. You're not the only one, B-Mac, with the logos.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I'm in the majority, actually. Roster Vault is going to work the same exact way, and I believe if you hit L1 or R1 on this screen, it says Change Vault. So you got logos, you got rosters, you got individual players that you can upload. So like the cards that I made for the podcast 2 weeks ago, those fictional cards of like Craig Biggio, for example. If I wanted that card and somebody else wanted to use him, I could actually upload that player, and then somebody out there could download that customized Craig Biggio card that I created. The players are going to be much easier to find, and there's also slider options in franchise mode. So you can go from logos to rosters to players to sliders all in one motion, just by L1 or R1 at the top of the screen, and it's going to show you some individualized little screenshots, and that's going to be really, really helpful. All right, Ice needed to take a quick break, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next thing. Next thing was the universal profile. The universal profile, all of these flags are going to be unlockable and open for anybody to use on their icon at launch. And then they have added to universal profile 50 new nameplates and 50 new icons to go along with these types of things. This was the only screenshot that I got of the flags, but I got one of the nameplates here. There's different ones, and the same type of process by either collecting a team, or it looks like this one for the Blue Jays, you need to unlock it by completing the Blue Jays Team Epic program. So Team Epics are going to be back, guys. That's a big clue there that Team Epics are going to be back. The level count, I believe they said, was going to be the same. So it sounded like they were going to go bronze, silver, gold, diamond, and that there's going to be 100 levels at each one of them. So, for example, when you hit level 100, you were going to be level 1 silver. Something like that, anyway. I believe that's the way it worked this year. So, no additional levels, which sounds like we're going to be in the same spot that we were last year, in that if you play the game a lot like I do, I'll probably have the Diamond level 100 by Father's Day weekend in June, or if not beforehand, and then I won't have any ability to level up or any use for any of those XP for the next 9 months. But not everybody has an opportunity to play the game every day either, so it is what it is.
Father's Day. I'll have it April 1st.
April 1st. Yeah, that's a little bit unrealistic. That's a little bit unrealistic. Before we go into different cameras, I wanted to mention audio tracks. Guys, they've got 18 different audio tracks that will be playing throughout the menus. Most of us who streamed the game turned the audio completely down for copyright purposes and for reasons that we like to play some of our own music on our streams. There were 12 tracks on the game last year, so 18 is 6 more, and they cracked the joke and said, and the game is going to cost the same. I think the real news there is that during the load screen, if there's a particular song that you don't want to hear, that you'll be able to click the R stick in the R3 button, you'll be able to skip the song, and it will have the memory to go ahead and pull another song and play it for you. So, that's that. That's all I had on audio. That's
yeah, I mean, as far as the little joke, all I gotta say is ha.
Yeah, I know. It was a nice try.
Yeah.
Nice try. Yeah.
Fell a little bit short.
Exactly. All right, so gameplay stats, guys. I'm going to read these off because I think that just the scope and magnitude of it is somewhat mind-blowing, at least to me. But 401 new throws that they have captured and inputted into the game. They've got 266 or more new catch animations, 220 new tagging mechanism we talked about last week, 202 new transitions, meaning when they field the ball, how long does it take them, and what does it look like to get to a fielding point and then a throwing point, and what does that look like? Not necessarily how long, but what does it look like? 188 new situational awareness animations, and that is not including the new home run trots. Many of those are player specific. 316 new personalized batting stances to Major League Baseball players. And then the rain. I think I might have a screenshot. Let's see here. Oh, we got strike zone cameras. Let's see. Player emotion. Here we go. Situational awareness. Here's player emotion. This is the Trey Turner shot from the GameStop Monday video. Trey Turner hitting a home run late in the game from one of those low home run celebration cameras. Okay, situational awareness. This is an Oakland player celebrating. It looks like he probably hit a, let's see, the scoreboard. By the looks of the scoreboard, he had a double to pull the A's within a run in a late game situation. And then some other kind of neat little things. Dancing bullpens. This is the Chicago Cubs dancing bullpen. Fog is implemented in the game now. This is also from the GameStop Monday video. Funny that it's in Oakland because a lot of the fog is in Oakland. And then rain delays. Okay, I didn't get a screenshot of the actual rain because one screenshot didn't really show the rain very well. So I pulled up this image. This is really all you got to know about rain delays. First of all, they're only going to happen in franchise mode and potentially Road to the Show.
Yep.
They're not going to happen in Diamond Dynasty games and head-to-head. You're not going to have to worry about that. Second of all, games won't be canceled. Games will not be canceled. There's not going to be a doubleheader, and I know that there are people who in that true sim franchise style. They're excited about rain. They're excited about rain delays because it adds a layer of realism to it. But if you're not going to carry it all the way through and cancel a game or postpone a game and make it it's a little bit of a compromise. You get the rain, you don't get the cancellation. There's really only one thing that you got to do here, and that is probably weigh the pros and cons of continuing with your starting pitcher based on stamina when the game was called, and whether you want to bring it back into the game or bring in a new pitcher. There's one decision to make. So it's not a doubleheader. It's not that the game's canceled. It's not any of that stuff. But it does include some decision making in it. So kudos to that.
Yeah, so I'm not a big franchise person, at least as of yet. Excuse me. So doesn't have much effect on me.
Gotcha. All right. And then, let's see, did we have anything else in here that I wanted to show you? I wanted to show cameras. Let's go back then. Let us go back. let us go back and talk about the cameras because I don't want to go to the next. I don't want to go to the next topic yet. The next topic is a big topic. It's a big topic and it hurts. See what I did there?
Nice play on words.
Yeah, I tried. Okay, in order to get the show, I'm going to have to... Oh, there we go. Oh, okay, BMAC learned how to use OBS. This is one of the batting cameras, guys, and this is the one that I think most of us use. This is the Strike Zone camera. I want to point out the fact that the PCI that they're using is dynamic, and you can tell that by the fact that there is a kind of a solid outline around the edge. When you get a power hitter, guys, the solid outline is going to be at the top because he's a power hitter and you want to get the ball in the air with him. When you get a contact hitter, more than likely the solid PCI is going to be near the bottom because you're going to probably want to keep the ball from being in the air. Since he's not going to be able to lift it out of the ballpark, you're probably going to want to keep it on the ground or hit line drives with him. So this is the Strike Zone camera. And what's really kind of neat about this is that they have added 5 new hitting cameras, and most of them, based on feedback that they've received simply by watching people play the game on Twitch and probably on YouTube, is that a lot of people, most people, like to use this camera for competitive purposes. It's the one that I choose to use because it helps me see the ball when it's high and low. I think it's easier to see the ball left and right on many other types of cameras, fisheye, any of the other ones that you like to use. But I have trouble laying off of curveballs in the dirt and changeups that are low, unless I use the Strike Zone camera, and even then, I'm not very good at it. So this is the one that I prefer.
I'm in trouble no matter what one I use. So
I hear you there. This is a slightly different. This one's pulled back a little bit. I believe this one was called Strike Zone 2, but it might be 3. It's pulled back a little bit.
Oh, no, yeah, that one's 3.
This one's 3. Okay, this one's 3. It's a little bit more pulled back. You can see that he started the PCI a little bit higher in the zone. This is Ian Desmond, so he was more of a balanced hitter. You can tell that the outer ring around this dynamic PCI is more all the way around instead of centered on the top or centered on the bottom.
Yeah, this view kind of gives me more of the thought of looking at it from the umpire's point of view.
Yep. This might be offset, actually. Now that I think about it. This might be Strike Zone offset. Because it looks slightly offset. Because you said umpire, and it feels a little bit offset to me. Maybe that's just because that's where the PCI is placed. I'm not sure.
Could be.
I also could have labeled it and been more accurate. And the and the last one, this one I think was called Strike Zone 3.
Zoom.
I think Strike Zone High was the previous one that we looked at. Let's do that again. I think this one was Strike Zone High, and then this one was Strike Zone 3. Because it feels just a little bit lower. Anyway, I wanted, and you can also see based on the dynamic PCI that the yellow border is at the top of this PCI. This is George Springer at the plate, and he has quite a bit of power, and so with George Springer, you're going to have an advantage if you get slightly underneath the ball and put it in the air, and that comes based on the conversation that they had with their hitting engine just last week. Middle is great, but middle more often than not is going to result in a line drive. If you are slightly underneath of the ball, then it's going to create more of a fly ball. You're going to hit underneath the ball and put the ball in the air. And with power hitters, as somebody like a George Springer, that's going to be more advantageous.
Or Altuve.
Yeah, I don't know about Altuve. Not sure about Altuve.
No, just a little joke.
Yeah, exactly. And let's see, what should we cover here? I wanted to point out one thing that they said in particular about hitting is that they rebalanced directional hitting. I'll believe that when I see it, because I still believe directional hitting is overpowered. I still think that when you face a directional hitter online, you can tell. and that they're hitting baseballs that they have no business hitting, and that frankly, I wish you could group the directional hitters, group people by their settings. I don't want to play a directional hitter if I'm a zone hitter. It's not fair, frankly, because all you got to do is press a direction and swing, and the timing of it is more important than the placement because you are trying to put it in a particular place. I don't like that.
Agreed.
Zone hitting, somebody who selects zone hitting should be playing against zone hitting opponents. Directional hitting folks should be playing against people who are using the same setting. Let them duke it out until they can figure out how to use zone hitting, and then they can come up and play with everybody else who wants to play the game the way that a baseball swing should be made.
Yeah, I agreed 100%.
Although they did say that they rebalanced it, so I'll give it a chance, and hopefully I won't be able to tell when I'm facing a directional hitter. I'm not going to hold my breath on that.
Yeah, neither am I. I want to live through the year.
2-strike swings. They mentioned contact. A lot of times when people get 2 strikes on them, and I don't blame them, they want to protect against a strikeout, they use the contact swing, especially if it's a high contact guy. What does that do with your PCI? You are seeing, in all of those screenshots, you're seeing the PCI swing in normal, as if you were to hit the X button. A power swing shrinks the PCI because you're swinging harder, and therefore you're going to be less accurate with it. A contact swing actually increases the PCI from that spot to that spot.
Yep.
Because you're trying to put the ball in play. You're not trying to hit it for power. But what they found, and many people complained, and I think feedback from the alpha, I believe, also had a big part in this, was that when people were using that circle button to use contact swing with 2 strikes, they were fouling pitches off that were in the dirt, that should have hit them, or gone over their head. And that's not right. That's not right that they're able to get the bat on that ball. And the fact of the matter is, they said that they are there are going to be changes with that. You're not going to be able to hit pitches if you don't get the PCI on the ball. And I'm assuming that there's a limit to where the PCI is going to be able to go. If you're not,
in all fairness, you can do that with regular swings also. In this year's.
Sure, absolutely. But with pitches in the dirt.
Yeah. I do it all the time. Believe me when I say I do it all the time.
Okay, well, prepare to strike out more in MLB The Show 18 until you can learn not to swing at that pitch, because
let's hope not.
Because the fact of the matter is, they said that they have tuned that so people aren't able to foul off 7, 8, 9 pitches in a row when the pitch isn't even close to the strike zone.
We'll see.
We'll see. We'll see. We will see. Let's see. We want to. I would like to touch on just a couple of things before we go to the legend reveal, and that is fielding. Fielding specifically like left fielders. One specific example was Ted Williams. A lot of people didn't use Ted Williams in the outfield. Like to use him off the bench as a hitter because he's a hitter. And I think that's because he was a little bit slower. His fielding ratings weren't as good. But there's the other thing that if you wanted to use Ted Williams, you just stick him at first base. If you're going to use Ted Williams or a slower outfielder like Trumbo, or JD Martinez doesn't have a lot of speed, but he's not the first one that comes to mind. Nelson Cruz, one of those guys, high power guys, but not a whole lot of fielding, not a whole lot of speed. Their reaction time isn't going to be that great. You're gonna notice a difference this year. Fielding, speed, reaction are 3 huge factors, especially in outfield range in MLB The Show 18. They compared Ted Williams to a guy like Kevin Kiermaier, and the fact that you will notice that Kiermaier will have more range and more ability to get to balls in different places than a guy like Ted Williams. Those are obviously extreme examples. I'd imagine a center fielder like an Adam Jones or somebody like that probably would be better to compare apples to apples, Kiermaier and Adam Jones, or a Mike Trout than an extreme example, like I said, with a Kiermaier to Ted Williams. But
another example would be Kiermaier to Hamilton.
Hamilton being
all speed. Kiermaier having more reaction, more fielding.
probably and should be able to get to more balls, even though Hamilton's got the speed.
Right.
Kiermaier is known for his spectacular defensive plays and should be able to get to more of those balls at the wall. Here's an animation that I want to see go. If an outfielder like a Kiermaier with fielding and reaction up as high as I believe Kiermaier is going to be, if there's one of those fly balls that you're tracking and it's going to the wall, I don't want him to get stuck in an animation and have and then stop short of the warning track for him to catch the carom off the wall. I want to be able to go to the damn wall and try to jump and catch the son of a gun, because I know it's going to be off the wall or it's going to be a home run. Let me make the decision as to whether I'm going to pull up short and let the ball carom off the wall or go get it.
Or even have somebody try to pull an Aaron Rowan and go straight into the wall trying to catch
and come away with a bloody face. Exactly. Exactly. But you know the animation I'm talking about. And you're going back on a ball and your outfielder just stops. And you're like, what the heck?
Yeah.
I want to see that gone. And if we're going to have guys do it, then their fielding and reaction should be lower. And you should have, if you're going to frankly have the guts to use somebody like a Kevin Kiermaier, whether it's in Battle Royale or DD, head-to-head, whatever it is, if he's got the high fielding, high reaction, he should be able to go and get that ball where maybe somebody who doesn't have that fielding reaction does get caught in that animation. I would be okay with that, and then I feel like I could justify it. Well, that's why he stopped, because his fielding rating isn't as high.
Yeah, and just to add on to what we're talking about now, the one nice thing that I'm seeing so far as what they're showing is you're going to have to be a little bit more knowledgeable as far as the players you're using, because you're not going to be able to use the same type of cheese to be able to just pull off whatever you want to pull off.
Exactly.
Again, with the outfielders, the running, the tagging animations, all that stuff. If everything works out right, you're going to have to be a little bit more knowledgeable in the game, period, compared to what you've been in the last couple of years.
Definitely.
So again, it's promising. I hope it goes the way it goes, or the way they're showing.
Yep.
But
one big thing that they did that Ramon admitted to was a bug in the game when outfielders were jogging after balls. I heard him say it was a bug in the game, and I said hallelujah, because whoops.
Sorry, pal.
Speaking of hallelujah, I think somebody's calling. That bug's been fixed. Outfielders should not jog after balls anymore. And I think that was the answer from the sky right there. Somebody's calling, saying you don't have to worry about that anymore. At least we're being told that we don't have to worry about them. To fix the outfield jogging bug, and the fact that they acknowledged it was a bug. Thank God. That being said, no create a stadium this year. I know a lot of the community's been asking for it. I would like to hear a little bit more of an explanation as to why. If it's just too in-depth, if they're concerned about exploits, how they might safeguard that. We haven't heard any explanation yet. I would love to hear one somewhere down the road. And an unfortunate aspect, I really hoped, because in all of these animations that they're talking about, all of the additions that they've had, all of the throwback uniforms that they've provided, they haven't gotten rid of any of the old stuff. Not at all. They've added to all of it. They've kept all of the other stuff. They've kept all of the other flashback, throwback uniforms that they've had. I was really hoping that they would be able to keep the classic stadiums and add to them. And unfortunately, we got the news on Thursday afternoon that there will be no new classic stadiums. So no Kingdome for me, unfortunately. I'm sad about that one.
And no bet for me. Look, at this point, honestly, as long as the game comes out, it works right. The changes that they said are implemented and they work the way they say they're going to work. I'm willing to wait another year for a created stadium or even new stadiums. But again, let's just hope they come out and do what they've been promising.
Agreed. I'm with you on that. A couple more notes. I know we are right at our hour time, but we've gone over, so we're probably going to go over now. Sacrifice bunt situations, guys. The sacrifice bunts should be more effective. So that means, hopefully, that you won't have to steal your runners and leave yourself vulnerable to missing a bunt or popping one up and God forbid, be doubled off of first base. But the only reason that people in the community did that is because you could easily bunt it right into a double play. And so to try to get around that, you had to get your base runner off the base, or bases if you were moving 2 runners along, far enough to where your opponent realized that they couldn't get the lead runner and had to actually get the out at first base, like the way the sacrifice bunt is supposed to work. So they're supposed to be more effective in sacrifice bunt situations this year. They're not supposed to be any more effective when they're not in sacrifice bunt situations. So hopefully we don't regress to MLB The Show 16 where people are bunting to get away from the shift. V-Mart or a Rizzo or a Kyle Seager or somebody like that bunting it to the third baseman who's playing shortstop, the only fielder on that side of the field. I didn't mind that so much because while bunting was completely nerfed, we really didn't have to worry about it a whole lot in MLB The Show 17, except for when you legitimately trying to move runners along in a sacrifice situation, and that was frustrating. So hopefully they've retuned that, and you can get a bunt down with a pitcher or a middle infielder who's a contact bunt guy. I'm all for that. That's a strategy that is part of the game. That's not trying to cheese the game. That's trying to move base runners along. That is a legitimate strategy in MLB.
To an extent.
I'm not saying I'm going to squeeze bunt. Please believe me. I'd much rather bunt him to second and third with 1 out and hit a sacrifice fly. That's called manufacturing a run.
I mean, if you're doing it with the pitcher, obviously, it is what it is. I'm not even going to get into it because that's going to be like another hour's worth of combo.
Bunting is part of baseball, but bunting the way that this game has played got it to the point where 17, forget about it. And they had to nerf it. They had to nerf it because it was terrible. But I think if you were going to use it strategically and you're going to move runners along, and with the way the base running is supposed to work, with the way that the throw animations are supposed to work, you shouldn't have the looping throws, the lollipop throws. You shouldn't be able to be stuck in an animation to where the guy steals second base, you throw a pitch out, you throw it down to second, and the guy's got a chance to turn around and get back to first because your shortstop covering second base catches the ball, taps his glove 3 times, and throws a rainbow to 90 feet to first base. We're not going to see that this year.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, look, the whole bunting thing was quote unquote fixed. Most of the bunts are almost like line drives going to second, third, or first and third and everything. But what messed everything up with that is the animations, the throws, and stuff like that. Hopefully they get that rounded off. It sucks because every time I say something, it's just going back to if they.
I know.
But,
Unfortunately, we're in a cycle of a third year where we're saying, we got to get this fixed, and we haven't seen it fully fixed. So,
and trust me, I have my hopes up. I really hope everything works out the way that we're seeing it. I would love it to, but I just...
Sack bunts are supposed to be more effective. That doesn't mean they're going to work 100% of the time. Moving forward, no new pitching cameras. They've got 5 new hitting cameras, mostly based on strike zone, but no new pitching cameras this year. The dynamic PCI we talked about. And the one last thing that we want to cover before we go around the horn is Frank Thomas.
Yeah, boy.
Frank Thomas, the big hurt. There he is, right there.
The original big piece.
Yes, go ahead. Your thoughts.
It's nice to finally get somebody, I guess, as far as power-wise, as the big hurt in the game. We've had a lot of guys in the game. They've had them 99 power and stuff like that. Thomas is a true hurt piece. He always has been. He's probably, in my opinion, he's probably one of the best power hitters, at least in my lifetime. He's and the contact on top. Thomas was a good contact hitter besides being a power hitter, but he was always known for being a power hitter, obviously.
Frank Thomas, in his 19-year career, had a career 301 batting average, 419
There you go.
419 on base, 555 slugging. He was a 974 OPS for his career, which was over 2,300 games. He had 521 home runs, 495 doubles. Big power guy. He drove in a lot of runs, my friends. 1,667, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times in his career. He drove in 100 runs or more. He drove in 136 in 1995. He drove in 138 in 1991. And even more impressive is the fact that he walked almost 300 more times for a power hitter now. He walked almost 300 more times in his career than he struck out.
Do you have his stats up now?
I do.
If I remember correctly, he actually has a couple stolen bases.
He stole 32 bases in his career. He was caught 23 times. He had a career high of 7 in 1998, and a year in which he was not caught stealing.
Crazy
So
to think about power.
He's not going to have a ton of speed. I'd put it maybe in the 60s. And his base running aggressiveness might not even be in the 20s if I had to guess. But, he's not going to have very many triples. He had 12 in his entire career. He's a guy who's going to hit you home runs and doubles. He's going to drive in a ton of runs, so his clutch is going to be probably through the roof. And, he walked 1,667 times his career, struck out 1,397. Almost every season of his 19-year career, he had more walks than strikeouts. It's absolutely remarkable. Unbelievable for a guy his size, his power, his strength to do all of the things on a baseball field that Frank Thomas did. And I think many of us probably expected to see Frank Thomas playing defensive end somewhere instead of baseball, too. So.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, the on-base percentage, batting average, home runs, runs batted in, even runs. He was all around.
10 times in his career, he had 100 walks or more in a season.
Yeah. It's insane, man. For a big guy, there's other guys that have done it, and I'm not going to mention the one because I don't like him very much. But for walks, I mean, most power guys are known for striking out.
Yes.
And look at what he does.
Agreed. And we were talking, and I'm sure in an upcoming episode, guys, we're gonna be doing a season prediction show here in a few weeks, and I'm sure we'll touch on the Yankees. And how many home runs Aaron Judge and Giancarlo Stanton hit. We're probably going to shoot each other maybe 10 questions. So we might have 20 questions total unless we duplicate. That's just an idea that I just came up with off the top of my head. But Frank Thomas was a guy who you were legitimately scared of when he was in the box if you were a pitcher.
Yeah. Yep.
Phenomenal. The only thing that I'm going to say here is he's a first baseman, and you're going to have a ton of options for cards at first base. I don't know how you're going to be able to get Frank Thomas, if he's going to be a program, if he's going to be a team epic, if he's going to be a battle royale reward. I'm sure there will be many versions of him. If they follow the same format that they did for MLB The Show 17. Yep. So somewhere throughout the year, I'm sure you'll be able to get a chance to play with the guy. Plus, if you use the Legends team, I bet he's on the one that's from the 90s and 2000s.
Yep. Yeah, I'm sure they'll cycle through with him. From rookie till veteran, I'm sure they'll cycle through with him.
And there's going to be a lot of other first basemen. I really enjoy having a first baseman who's a left-handed hitter, but that doesn't mean that I'm not going to use Frank Thomas from time to time.
Yeah. All right. Look at it this way too. Look at how many lefties are 99s in most people's lineups. It's going to be nice to have another 99 besides Miggy as a righty to be able to play first base.
Exactly. All right. So, anything else on the big hurt, or we want to wrap it up going around the horn?
I'm good.
All right, let's do it. All right, so real baseball news, guys, this week. Icemac's been kind of keeping track of this stuff, so I'm gonna hand the baton over to Ice, and he can kind of take you through the free agent signings.
Well, so far we have obviously the biggest one would be Darvish going to the Cubs. 6 year, 126. I believe that's going to raise the market. One of the reasons why Arrieta's not signed yet. Cashner, Andrew Cashner got signed with the Orioles. 2 years, $16 million. Give me a second. I still got to go through because I didn't write them all down.
Jason Vargas to the Mets.
Thank
very,
you.
very similar deal. About almost exactly the same. 2 years, $16 million. I think with a club option for 2020.
Yep. Nunez with the Red Sox, 1 year
Eduardo,
deal.
yep. 1 year deal. That was pending a physical. A
Yes.
physical, and he strained a PCL, I believe, in his knee late last season and re-injured a couple of times. So the pending physical part was really truly pending the physical, because there are some that are not sure that he's going to be able to pass it.
I think that was all of them that I had.
And Anibal Sanchez just earlier this afternoon signed a deal with the Minnesota Twins.
Thank you.
No problem. Well, I've got it on the screen here in front of me, so I'm cheating. And they can see it too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure you can.
I have it up. I wasn't paying attention.
No problem. Yeah.
Also, just in other news, I mean, we have Lincecum, who's been throwing for a lot of scouts. Apparently, there's been about roughly 20 teams out looking at Lincecum. Apparently, he's got his speed back up. The velocity's kind of still a little suspect, but there's a couple teams that are pushing, one of them being the Giants. So we'll see what happens with Lincecum. And you had news on Otani, right?
Shohei Ohtani, yeah.
Ohtani.
Threw his first bullpen. He was impressive in batting practice a couple of days ago, as pitchers and catchers have reporting all across baseball. And on MLB.com today, they were talking about Shohei Ohtani and the fact that he homered in his first BP. And then he actually had a bullpen session, a right-handed pitcher. He's 23 years old, and he used all 4 of his pitches. He's got fastball, splitter, and a curve and a slider are the 4 pitches that the 23-year-old Ohtani has. And word is that he was quite impressive, and that the sky and this is really truly the limit for this kid. So we'll see. Now,
wasn't this the same kid they were talking about might need Tommy John also?
The reports out of the injury or potential injury to Ohtani were, I don't want to say greatly exaggerated, but what they were medical reports that all of the teams that were kind of in the finalist group got a chance to review the medical records. I don't think any of them dropped out of interest because of the medical reports, but it showed wear and tear on a ligament in his elbow. He's 23. He's been a pitcher. Many of the teams classified it as general wear and tear that a 23-year-old pitcher would have. Some of them and some medical experts believe that it shows that he could be vulnerable to a complete tear at some point that would lead to Tommy John surgery, but nobody was saying he's going to have it in the next 2 or 3 years.
Okay. Yeah, I remember something was brought up about his arm. I just didn't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah, they were pretty, especially with the kind of dollars that he's going to command. Once this rookie deal is over, he's gonna, if he hits the market, he's gonna command a lot of dough. And at 23, that's why he came over now, is so he could get his years in and then hit a huge contract when he becomes a free agent. And he'll do it before he's 30.
I'll tell you what, that team out in Japan made out though.
Yes, absolutely they did. That's incentive to let him go too. When you get type of money that they got,
was
just
it $20 million, right?
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah, just for posting him, regardless if he signed or not. All right. Anything else as we go around the horn?
Not that I can think of.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Thank you very much for joining us tonight, you guys. GameStop Monday video will be up for MLB The Show this coming Monday. And next Thursday's San Diego Studio stream is going to be all about presentation and updated commentary. And somebody new is going to join the booth in commentary, and they have not revealed that yet. So a lot of people are speculating that it might be Jim Thome, and that we're going to get a Thome card this year because he's part of MLB Network and the whole Harold Reynolds and that sort of thing. I'm not necessarily sold on that, but we could see. That'd be neat.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right. Very cool. All right. Well, thank you guys. Very much appreciate it. This episode of Baseball MacJustice will be up on Twitch for the next 24 hours. You can replay it right here on twitch.tv/bmacredbeard. And then as late as Monday, probably, but possibly sooner than that, my YouTube channel and IceMac78 will have it up on his YouTube channel as well. We are obviously working to market this, both of us involved, and I would appreciate your subscription to my YouTube channel as well as IceMac's channel. And IceMac has got his own individual channel on Twitch as well, and I believe the party is going to continue over there with MLB The Show. Am I not? Am I correct?
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so right after this, we're going to do a quick debrief, and probably by 7:45 or so, IceMac will be streaming MLB The Show, and I will be back as well in 45 minutes or so after I get a quick bite to eat. And I haven't decided what I'm going to play tonight. It's either going to be MLB The Show, or I might go Friday Night Fights and go UFC.
Oh, by the way, NB, Vin Scully's a very good possibility, and that's actually the first person I thought of.
Ooh, boy. Vin Scully, wouldn't that be cool? God, you just about gave me goosebumps on that one.
Yeah,
all right.
So it'd be again, it's going to be interesting.
Yes, it will be. Speculation, that's why they throw out the stars in there, because we can count it. And we could say 3 stars for first name is Jim, it's Vin, it's Rex, as in like Rex Hudler, who's been on the broadcast team in the past. You never know.
All I could say is thank God it's not Joe Buck.
Thank God it's not Joe Buck. Yeah, the last name has too many stars in it, right?
Yep.
I would be very, very surprised if it was Vin Scully, but one can dream.
I would too, but...
One can dream.
Yep.
All right, Dan Plesac is as the guy that joined the booth last year, along with Harold Reynolds. That was a really neat addition, especially as a Mariner fan, enjoying to see and getting to listen to Harold Reynolds all the time. I appreciate his commentary and everything on the MLB Network as well. And boom, I think we wrapped it.
Yep.
Mike, we're dropping it. Thank
Sounds
you guys
good.
for showing up in chat. I appreciate it. Thank you for the sub that came up during chat. I did not miss it. But as the podcast is, the podcast goes, and we will interact with you guys when we get back to our regular streaming schedule. Anything to add?
No.
All right, great. All right, then IceMac and I are going to debrief, and each one of us will be back individually. You guys have a great night. We'll see you back here or over on Ice's channel probably within the next 30 to 45 minutes. You guys have a great one. Until then, peace.
See yous.